All right, Shabbos, say good morning. We have a beautiful, beautiful daf ahead of us today. Pei Beis. It's amazing how the days go by. Pei Beis 82, and we are picking up on Pei Aleph, and we actually have a lot to do today. We're picking up with Tashma, which is on 81b, and we're picking up 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Thank you. 16 lines up from the bottom, but again, it goes quickly. Tashma, supposed to, here we go. Tashma, Omer Harei Alai Todu B'lo Lechem, B'Zevach B'lo Nesachem. We started this already yesterday. So the Brisa says as follows: a person makes an interesting neder. He says, I hereby take upon myself the obligation to bring a todah without lechem, without bread, or a Zevach B'lo Nesachem. Rabbi said, for that matter, again, a Zevach, a carbon without wine libations. V'amru. So we'll say, we say to him, Havei todah v'lachma v'zevach u'nesachem. So we'll say, remember again, so what's the case? So we already saw yesterday's brisa, that halacha l'maisa, we tell him, listen, it doesn't work that way. You got to bring your todah with the bread, you have to bring your chatas or your carbon with the nesachim. V'omer, and he says, ilu hayisi odeh shekain, lo hayisi noder. And he says, you know what? Had I known that this was the halacha, or as well, so it sounds like what he's saying over here is, had I known that you have to bring a todah with lechem, had I known that you have to bring a carbon with nesachim, I would have never gone ahead and what? I would have never gone ahead and vowed. So what's the halacha? Kofin also. We force him anyway. Va'omer lo shamar v'shamata. And we'll say, we say to him, apparently this phrase, shamar v'shamata. So we'll say, what's shamar v'shamata? So the pasuk says, shamar v'shamata is kol hadvarim ha'ela asher anochi mitzavecha. Literally, you have to keep all of the mitzvahs of the Torah. That's what we tell him, shamar v'shamata. So the Gemara says, bishlam, first wide line, bishlam l'chizkiya neichale. So what's according to Chizkiya, the way we learned yesterday. So this Gemara makes sense. El Rabbi Yochanan Kashya, according to Rabbi Yochanan Shita, it's difficult. So I'm the Rabbi Yochanan says, no. Havada Beishamai. So we'll say, this reflects the view of Beishamai. Both remember again Beishamai from yesterday's daf. What did Beishamai say? Beishamai said, Tofes Lashon Rishon. Beishamai says that the halacha is that when a person says a statement comprised of multiple parts, and sometimes even if those multiple parts conflict with each other, we determine the nature of a person's statement through the beginning of his statement. Tafos Lashon Rishon. So what did the guy say in this case, Rabbi Osai? Harei Alai Todah. That's it. Done. Below Lechem, we don't care about that. We just focus ultimately again on Harei Alai Todah. So the Gemara says, Mai v'shamar v'shamata. So what does it mean, shamar v'shamata? So Amra Abaye, shamar havei todah, v'shamata havei lachma. Shamar means Rabbi Osai, we tell him, guard what you said, right? And bring the todah. And shamata, bring the lechem. Rabbi Amar shamar havei todah v'lachma. He says shamar means go ahead and bring the todah and the lechem. V'shamata shelo tehi ragil la'asos kain. And Rosei and shamata means don't do it again. So the Gemara says so next case in the Mishnah. All right, fine. That closes out that case of Rosei. He v'lachma. So Rosei, by the way, in that case where a person says Harei Alai Todah below lechem, so the way we paskin halacha lamai says that what he brings the carbon todah along with the lechem, tafas lashon rishon, which is simply focus on the first part of the statement, and at the end of the day, he's obligated to bring a todah in its entirety. Next, hivalachma min ha'maiser yavi. So also remember again, going back to the Mishnah. So what did the Mishnah say? If halacha l'maisa, a person says, I hereby pledge to bring my todah and the lechem from maiser sheni. So what's the halacha? Rabbi say yavi. He goes in and brings the todah and the lechem from maiser sheni. So the Gemara says yavi. So it sounds like he has to bring the todah and the lechem from maiser sheni. Is that true? Yavi lo sagi de lo maisi. Rabbi say I don't understand. Shouldn't the Mishnah read if he wants to bring it from the maiser sheni he can, but of course if he wants to go ahead and bring it from chulin he can do that also. To which the Gemara says you're right. Rav Nachman Rechista Amri Ratza Mevi Lo Ratza Lo Yavi. Of course, what it means is if you want to bring it from Maiser Sheni, you can do so. But if ultimately, again, you want to bring it from Chulin, that is appropriate as well. For Lo Yavi Mechite Maiser Sheni Elemi Mos Maiser Sheni. Both says a quote from the Mishnah. The Mishnah then went on to say that ultimately, again, if you're going to bring from Maiser Sheni, you cannot bring from the actual grain of Maiser Sheni, but rather, again, you should bring from Maiser Sheni funds. To which the Gemara says, Rav Nachman, Rav Chisda, Dami Tarbayu, Lo Shanu Ela Michiti Meiser Sheni. The prohibition is only to bring the actual lachmei toda from actual grain of Meiser Sheni. Aval Michitin Halukuchos Mimaos Meiser Sheni Yavi. But I will say, you can go ahead, if you used Meiser Sheni money to go ahead and purchase grain, you can, technically speaking, make your lachmei toda from that grain purchased with Meiser Sheni money. So the Gemara says, Yosef, Rabbi Yirmiyah Kamed Rabbi Zera. Ultimately, again, so Rabbi Yirmiyah was saying for Rabbi Zera, but Yosef the Kamar, Lo Shanu Ela Michiti Meiser Sheni, Aval Michitin Halukuchos B'Maos Meiser Sheni Yavi. So both say, so apparently Rabbi Yirmiyah was kind of echoing the same idea, that when the Mishnah said that you can't bring it from Meiser Sheni, it meant that you cannot bring lachmei toda from the actual grain of Meiser Sheni. But if you used money of Meiser Sheni to purchase grain, that grain can be used to go ahead and even bring lachmei toda. Amrli Rebbe, Ata Omer Kain, Ani Omer Afilu Mechitin Halukuchos Amos Meiser Sheni Lo Yavi. So he said to him, Rebbe, that's what you hold, but I hold that you can't even bring lachmei toda, even from grain that ultimately again was purchased with Maos Meiser Sheni. And I'll tell you your svara, and I'll tell you my svara. Listen to this. Your svara is as follows. Toda mehechal kayal fisla. We'll say, where do we learn our Toda from? We learn our Toda from Shlamim. Now, what does that mean? We learn our Toda from Shlamim. Look at the last Rashi on the daf, the bottom section of Rashi. Mishlamim, the Rachmana Kara the Toda Shlamim. We'll say the Torah calls a Toda a Shlamim. The Chsev Todas Shlamov. Mash Shlamim ba'im mi meiser. Af Toda ba'im min ha-meiser yirtzeh. So we'll say, listen to this. So he says, Rebbe, you learn our Toda from Shlamim. Top of pay base. Ushlamim. So when it comes to Shlamim, so we go ahead and we make a gzir shavav sham mi meiser. Make a gzir shavav. So the halacha is you can bring shlamim from meiser. In other words, in fact, if you bring your maos meiser sheni to Yerushalayim, the preferred use of maos meiser sheni is what? Is the purchase of shlamim. Why? Because everyone's happy with shlamim. Because part of the carbon ultimately goes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on the Mizbeach, part of it goes to the Kohanim, and part of it goes to us. So that is actually, that you don't have to. You could use your Ma'os Meiser Sheni on anything you want in Yerushalayim, but Shlam is definitely the preferred use. Ushlamim Sham Shami Meiser. Umina, Mashlamim Ein Gufan Meiser. So we'll say, just like Shlamim, Shlamim itself is not inherently Meiser Sheni. Right? It's purchased with Meiser Sheni, but not inherently Meiser Sheni. Toda nami ein gufa Meiser Sheni. So too again, a Toda, but it also can't inherently be Meiser Sheni. Therefore, v'hani chiti halakuchos b'mos Meiser Sheni nami ein gufa Meiser Sheni. Therefore, both say to use actual Meiser Sheni wheat for the lachmei Toda, that you can't do. Why? Because that will make the Toda inherently Meiser Sheni. But what you can do is, if you took Meiser Sheni money, went ahead and used it to purchase wheat, you can use that grain to go ahead and use for the lachmei Toda. Why? Because that grain is not inherently Meiser Sheni. So Ema Taimadidi, so says, Rebbe, that's your svara. That's why halacha l'maisa you hold that although you can't use actual Meiser Sheni grain for lachmei Toda, you could use grain purchased with Maos Meiser Sheni for lachmei Toda. But Ema Taimadidi, I'll tell you my svara. Toda mehechal kayal finale. Where do you learn how Toda from? Mishlamim. We'll say, so Toda is linked to Shlamim. And I could say, Ushlamim Sham Shami Meiser, and I make a Gzir Shava of Sham from Meiser to tell me that I could use Meiser Sheni, ultimately to purchase Shlamim. And I can say as follows, Mashlamim in ein min Meiser, Mashlamim ein min Meiser, Av Toda ein min Meiser. We'll say, just like Shlamim is not a min, it's not one of the forms, it's not one of the species, so to speak, of Meiser Sheni. As we'll say, where does Meiser Sheni come from? Meiser Sheni comes from produce. An animal obviously is not a min Meiser Sheni. So just like Shlamim is not a min Meiser Sheni, Af Toda ein min Meiser. So too Toda, I will say, also can't be a min, can't be one of the species of Meiser Sheni. Therefore, what? La fuke chitin halakuchos b'maos meiser sheni demin meiser ninhu, which therefore comes to exclude what? Not only does it come to exclude actual meiser sheni grain, but it actually comes to exclude even what? Even grain purchased with the money of meiser sheni, because that is a min meiser sheni. So I will say, so therefore a fundamental machlokes. Let's go with what we know. What we know is that ideally, in a perfect world, we would like you to bring your Toda from what? From Chulin. That's what we would like. Toda ultimately, again, should come from Chulin and not from anything else. However, if you did go ahead and pledge your Chulin ultimately from Meiser Sheni, then halacha l'maaseh, you could bring it. You can do it. The machlokes ultimately is how. So now we seem to say, everyone seems to agree, you cannot bring your toda, your lachmei toda, from actual grain of Meiser Sheni. That you cannot do. Can you go ahead and bring your toda from what? From monies, or I should say, from grain purchased with money of Meiser Sheni? That's the machlokes we just saw over here. So the Gemara goes weiter. Amar Rabbi Ami, hamat fis maos meiser sheni l'shtamim. So listen to this. This is actually a very interesting case. If I go ahead and I take meiser sheni money, and I go ahead, if you look at Rashi, Rashi says matvis. It's in the bottom section of Rashi. So it's about 5 lines in. Hamatvis. Domer maos meiser yiyu liknov shlamim. I take meiser sheni money and I say, I hereby pledge this money for the purchase of shlamim. Which I will say, what I'm trying to do over here is I'm trying to endow Meiser Sheni money with Shlamim sanctity. So can I do that? So Rabbi Amiyah says, Lo kanu Shlamim. Doesn't work. Rashi says, Lo kanu Shlamim, V'im yirtzeh, yikach me'en chitin, o kol ma sheyirtzeh. You have to use the money to purchase chitim, wheat, or anything else. V'hod disnan maybe toda mima'os meiser, lo shematvis amos, ala sheyikna behema l'shem shel Shlamim, so what's interesting over here is as follows. Can I go ahead and essentially endow money with shlamim sanctity? So Rabbi Ami says it doesn't work. Why not? Well, this is actually very interesting. The money is already endowed with sanctity. Right? What sanctity is the money endowed with? Meiser Sheni sanctity. What Rabbi Ami seems to be suggesting is that halacha l'maisa, once there is Meiser Sheni sanctity on the money, you cannot what? You cannot, no other kedusha could devolve upon that money. Therefore, we'll say, now again, I want to be clear. There are other ways that you could use the money to go out and purchase a shlamim. So the end result is possible. What Rabbi Ami is pointing out over here is you can't endow the monies with shlamim sanctity, for the money is already sanctified with a different kind of sanctity. So I may say, the Gemara is the kasha, halokea chaya lezivchei shlamim. If you purchase a chaya for zivchei shlamim, so it's actually a very interesting case. I'm purchasing a chaya, but a chaya is a non-domesticated animal, like a deer. That's the simplest example. I purchase a deer for shlamim purposes. Now, both say you cannot bring a deer as a shlamim. Right? Deer, right? Chayas are not usually offered up as karbanos. So watch this interesting case. So I go ahead and I purchase a deer for the sake of shlamim. Ubehema lebasar taiva. And I'm purchasing a regular behema. We'll say for basar taiva. Basar taiva means what? Regular meat consumption, right? Non-carbonic purposes. So we'll say, so remember again, now this is a case of usage of ma'os meiser sheni. So I bring on meiser sheni to Yerushalayim. I purchase a chaya for the sake of a carbon, and basar, and a regular animal, a sheep, right, for the sake of basar taiva. So we'll say, what's the halacha? Lo yatsa ha'or l'chulin. Ultimately, again, the hide of the animal does not go ahead and become chulin. Now, why is that? Lav l'meimra, the kani shlamim. So we'll say, does this not mean that the shlamim sanctity, in fact, devolves upon the animal? Ha'itmar lo amarav lo kani shlamim umay lo yatzar l'cholin. So we'll say no, because Rav says ultimately the animal does not actually become a shlamim. Umay lo yatzar l'cholin. If that's the case, then what does it mean when it says the hide doesn't go out to chulin? Hachikam. This really means to say, eina b'toras lotzei sa'or l'chulin. We'll say what it means is that ultimately the chaya doesn't really become a shlamim to the point that the hide would normally become permitted for mundane use. What's the reason for it? Amarabba nas kilokeach shor lecharisha. Because we'll say this is actually considered to be a misappropriation of meiser sheni funds. Meaning, for example, what's the halacha if one goes and uses Meiser Sheni funds to buy an ox to plow your field? The halacha is such a designation does not work because that's a misappropriation. So the Gemara is suggesting over here that purchasing a chaya for the sake of carbonic service, which essentially is a carbonic impossibility, has the equivalent ultimately again of a misappropriation of Meiser Sheni funds, and therefore again even if you shecht it, the hide itself does not become chulin. Itmar, the Gemara goes weiter. Hamaktis ma'os Meiser Sheni v'shlamim. We'll say same type of idea. A person goes ahead and takes money of Meiser Sheni and appropriates it ultimately again, or tries to appropriate it for shlamim. In other words, tries to endow the monies with shlamim sanctity. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Kani. Rabbi Yochanan says ultimately it works. Rabbi Lazar Amar Lo Kani. Rabbi Lazar says it doesn't work. V'alibud Rabbi Yehuda Damar Meiser Mamon Hed Yotu. So we'll say now the Gemara devolves into a more fundamental machlokes. In other words, what is the status of Meiser Sheni money? So according to Rabbi Yehuda holds that it's Mamon Hedjit, that Meiser Sheni money is like regular money. It belongs to the individual. So we'll say that Meiser Sheni is my money, but it's my money with a caveat. What's the caveat? That Allah Meiser have to use it in Yerushalayim. That's the caveat. So the Gemara says, "Duchuli amalo pligi." So we'll say if that's the case, if it's Mamon Hedyot, and I designate it as, and I want to endow it with Shlamim sanctity, then Einachinami, I would have the ability to do so. Lo pligi, dekani. Kipligi aliba de Rabbi Meir. So we'll say where the machlokes come up. It would come up in accordance with Rabbi Meir. The Amar Meiser Mamon Gavoahu. Because we'll say again, Rabbi Meir holds that Meiser Sheni is Mamon Gavoah, belongs to the Beis Hamikdash. So Man Damar Lo Kani Rabbi Meir. So we'll say if you hold that you can't endow Maos Meiser Sheni with Shlamim sanctity, then it makes sense according to Rabbi Meir. Why? Because it's already kadosh. So another form of sanctity cannot devolve upon it. So the Gemara says, Mak da Amar Kani, and the Mandarim holds ultimately again that it is Kona, that the Shlamim sanctity can devolve upon the funds. Kevan de Meiser Kari le Shlamim, Ki mitvases le Nami Tafis. Since Meiser Sheni Rabosai already has a connection to Shlamim, therefore when you endow the funds with Shlamim sanctity, it has the ability to work. So Meisi the Gemara is the kasha. Hamatvis Maos Meiser Sheni l'Shlamim. If a person goes and tries to endow his Meiser Sheni with Shlamim sanctity, Kishu Poden Mosif Alein Shnei Chumshin. If you redeem those monies, you have to add on 2/5, 1/5. Echad lekodesh ve'echad lemeiser. One is a redemption penalty for hekdish, and one is a redemption penalty for meiser. Misavis divrei hakol. So we'll say, do you think that reflects the view of everyone? Hamani Rabbi Yehuda. Ultimately, again, this would only reflect the view of Rabbi Yehuda. Good. And I will say this effectively closes out this again. I will say, just so you should know, although it's not our primary topic, the way the Rambam paskins is hamatvis maos meiser sheni l'shlamim lo kanu shlamim. I will say the Rambam paskins is that halacha meiser sheni money is endowed with sanctity, and therefore if you try to impose another layer of sanctity upon those monies by making them shlamim money, the designation ultimately again does not work. Yet I will say not to be confused with the fact that you absolutely can use maos meiser sheni to purchase shlamim. But how would you do that, Rabbi say? You would go ahead and use maos meiser sheni to what? To purchase what? To purchase an animal, and then what? Then you endow that animal with shlamim sanctity afterwards. But if you try to endow the maos meiser sheni with shlamim sanctity, that in fact will not work. Good, says the Mishnah. We'll say it gets very exciting here. Minay Omer Hare alai toda shelo yavi ela min achulin. So we'll say now we're going back to some more fundamentals. How do I know that if a person says Hare alai toda, I hereby take upon myself to bring a carbon toda? And I will say now I want to point out the lashon over here is very important. The lashon is Hare alai means I am hereby taking upon myself a personal obligation. Rabbi said this is actually going to be very important halacha. I am hereby taking upon myself a personal obligation to bring a toda. How do I know? Shelo yavi ela min achulin. That I can only satisfy that obligation if I bring a chulin animal. Rabbi said, now what does it mean? As opposed to what? As opposed to a meiser sheni, right, animal. As opposed to Rabbi say bringing it from an Rabbi say the operative concept over here is that halacha lamaisa. When I take upon myself a personal obligation, I can only satisfy that from a chulin animal. I cannot satisfy that from an animal that is already kadosh. The truth is, that's not a novelty. We've already seen that in the previous Mishnah. But again, I remember I mentioned this yesterday. We have this kinds of other areas of halacha. The same way that if I have a pre-existing religious obligation upon myself, I cannot satisfy that with my, let's say I set aside meiser money. I set aside ma'os tzedakah. I have to buy myself a brand new pair of tefillin. I cannot use those monies that I set aside for tzedakah to buy myself tefillin. Why not? Why not? Because Rabbi say any personal obligation that I have has to come from chulin money. Cannot come from already consecrated funds. So watch this. So the Gemara says, how do I know this? How do I know this? Talmud Lomar, v'zavachta pesach la'Hashem Elokecha, sonu bakar. Rabbi say this is amazing. Where do I learn this out from? It's dramatically amazing. Pasuk says, you shall offer up a pesach to Hashem your God, tson ubakar. Tson means sheep, bakar means cattle. Now what does that mean? Valo pesach ein ba ela min hakvasim min ha'izim im keimat Talmud lomar tson ubakar. Now we'll say, Judas, the pasuk makes no sense. Because the halachas current pesach only comes from what? Only comes from the sheep family. Why would it mention bakar? Lahakish kalaba min hatzon umin habakar lepesach. We'll say it's coming to equate all offerings, all sacrificial offerings, which come from either sheep or cattle, which is pretty much all offerings, lepesach. It's coming to go ahead and compare all sacrificial offerings to Karban Pesach. How so? Watch this. Ma Pesach davar shebachova ve'in ba ela min hachulin. We'll say just like when it comes to Karban Pesach, what's the halacha? Pesach is a davar shebachov, is an obligatory offering. Ve'ein ba ela min hachulin. And I both say you must bring Karban Pesach from a chulin animal. In other words, you can't use a previously consecrated animal to satisfy your paschal obligation, but rather, again, you must bring an animal from chulin. Af, so the Gemara says, af kol davar shebachova. So what do we learn from here? Any obligatory offering, ein ba ela min hachulin, also only comes from what? Only comes from unconsecrated animals. So we'll say, so amazingly enough, we learn this halacha ultimately from Karban Pesach, from the extra phrase of min habakar from Pesach. Any carbon that comes from sonu bakar, which is all karbanos, is like Pesach. Just like Pesach is an obligatory offering and therefore must come from chulin, so too any obligatory offering must come from chulin. Lefichach, therefore, haomer harei alai toda, harei alai shlamim. Therefore, if a person says, I hereby take upon myself an obligation to bring a toda, I hereby take upon myself an obligation to bring a shlamim, hoil uba'in chova, since ultimately, again, these are obligatory offerings, lo yaviu ela min hachulin. They can only be brought from chulin. I'll say that is indeed the halacha. Says we'll see furthermore in the Gemara. Unesachim b'chol makom lo yaviu min hachulin. I will say this last statement is very interesting. Nesachim. Now, if you look at Rashi, the bottom section of Rashi, third to last line, 3 lines over the bottom. Nesachim shel toda v'shel shlamim. The wine libations of a toda or of shlamim. B'chol makom bein amar harei alai la'aviyah min ha'maiser. Bein min hachulin lo yavi nesachim ela min hachulin. So the Rose says it's actually very interesting. We'll see what this means in the Gemara. So the Gemara says nesachim in all cases, can only be brought from chulin. Now we'll discuss ultimately again what all cases means. Rashi already begins to say bein amar harei alai la via min ha'maiser bein min hachulin lo yavi hanesachim ela min hachulin ki yisher le'rachman la asui shlamim maiser ki darminon sham hani mili shlamim gufayhu tibnei achilaninu al nesachim dekalaninu lo yavi min ha'maiser. So it says we're going to see the nesachim have a different issue. The reason you can't bring nesachim ultimately from Meiser Sheni is because Meiser Sheni funds are supposed to be consumed. What do you do with wine libations, Rabbi Osai? Wine libations are always treated the same way in the basement. What happens to them? They're poured out on the mizbeach, or more specifically, they're poured down what we call the shisin. Right? The shisin were these drains by the side of the mizbeach that led down to the tahom, like the Gemara Sukkah brings down. So because of that, nesachim can never come from Meiser Sheni. Nesachim always come from Chol. We'll see that in Gemara. So we'll say, so here we go. So now, the Mishnah tells me a very, very, very important principle, which is that halacha l'maisa, any time I am taking an obligation upon myself, obligatory sacrificial offerings can only come from chulin. Where do we know that from? Apparently, we learn out from Pesach is the source. Just like Pesach, ultimately, again, bless you, is obligatory and it comes from Chulin. So Sonu Bakar teaches me any other offering that comes. Any other offering that's Sonu Bakar also can only come from Chulin. Says the Gemara, O Pesach Gufei Minalan. So Pesach itself, where do I know it from? Also, if you notice, how do I know by Pesach that's the halacha? I understand Pesach is obligatory, but how do I know that Karban Pesach could only come from non-consecrated animals from Chulin? The Sanya, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Ne'emar Pesach, Ne'emar Pesach Ladoros. Torah uses the word Pesach when it comes to what we call Pesach Mitzrayim, the original Pesach, and it says Pesach for Pesach Doros, ongoing celebration of Pesach. Ma Pesach HaOmer Mitzrayim Lo Ba Ela Min HaChulin. It was actually very interesting. Just like the original Pesach, what we call Pesach Mitzrayim, the animal came from Chulin. They both say, how do we know that Pesach Mitzrayim came from Chulin? How do we know that? Because there was nothing else, right? There was no such thing as a Kodesh animal. Av Pesach Chomer L'Doros Lo Ba Ela Min HaChulin. So to Rabbi say, we learn from here that what? That for future Pesach observance, also the Pesach animals only come from Chulin and not from anything else. Amar Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Akiva says, 1 second. V'chidan in efshar, mishei efshar. So we'll say, Rabbi Akiva says, what kind of drasha is that? We'll say this in general is an exegetical principle. We say, aim done in efshar, mishei efshar. You can't learn out something that is possible or something that is impossible. In other words, we'll say, you can't learn out the halacha from Pesach Doros, from the halacha from Pesach Mitzrayim. When in Pesach Mitzrayim, there was no possibility to bring from a consecrated animal. Yet by Pesach Doros, there is. Amar Leis is actually very interesting. So Rabbi Akiva says back to Rabbi Eliezer, Afa Pishi Efshar, Rabbi Akiva, even though in Pesach Mitzrayim it was impossible to bring from a consecrated animal, Raya Gidolahi, you have to admit to me that this is a good proof. Right? This is actually a fascinating exchange. Right? So Eliezer is saying, listen, Rabbi Akiva, I will say, being Rabbi Akiva just holds of a different exegetical principle. Don Efshar Mishi Efshar, Ein Don Efshar is a fundamental machlokes, as we're going to see. But Rabbi Eliezer is just saying to Rabbi Akiva, look, even if you don't subscribe to it, you got to admit that at least bottom line, it is a good drasha. V'nilmo temena. Chaz Rabbi Akiva, v'dano dinach. So also Rabbi Akiva says, I agree with you in principle, by the way. I agree with you that Pesach is the source for this halacha. That just like Pesach Mitzrayim, so ultimately again the animal was brought from unconsecrated sources. So too again for Pesach Doros, it must be brought from unconsecrated sources. But I disagree with the halacha. I'll tell you where it comes from. Chaz Rabbi Akiva v'dan din achar. Rabbi Akiva dashes differently. He says, Mal Pesach Mitzrayim shekain ein ta'un matan damin ve'born l'gam mizbeach. We'll say just like Pesach Mitzrayim, which required no what? Required no blood applications, and also required no burning of sacrificial limbs on the Mizbeach. Amud Beis. Tomar, the Pesach Doros sheta'un matan damin ve'imur l'gam mizbeach. Will you say ultimately again that for Pesach Doros there should be an obligation ultimately for blood applications and a mur l'gabi mizbeach? Amarlo hareyu omer va'avarta es ha'avoda hazos b'chodesh hazeh. So Rabbi Eliezer responds back to Rabbi Akiva and he says something amazing. He says there's another drasha. The drasha is va'avarta es ha'avoda hazos b'chodesh hazeh. You shall go ahead. This is by Quran Pesach. You shall go ahead and do this avoda in this month. So what's the drasha Rabbi was saying? Shihu kol avodo shel chodesh hazeh kazeh. But the Torah is coming to tell me that which was done, the same way that the avoda was done by the original Pesach, so that is how it is done for future generations as well. Look at Rashi just a moment. Kol avodo shel chodesh zeh Pesach doros kazeh. So we'll say it's actually very interesting. So what Rabbi Eliezer is advancing is another drasha. See, I will say the original drasha Rabbi Eliezer wanted to advance was what? Was ultimately again just almost like a comparison. Now here's what we know. The pasuk when it comes to Korban Pesach says V'zavachta Pesach LaHashem Elokecha Tzon Ubakar. I know that pasuk is strange. Why? Because of one word, bakar. Korban Pesach can't come bakar. So the first drasha says that it's coming to compare every single korban that is brought from Sonu Bakar, which then is every single korban, to Korban Pesach. and to say what? Just as Karban Pesach itself is what? Just like Karban Pesach itself has to be brought from Chulin, so to every other Karban is brought from Chulin as well. Then Rabbi Akiva says, Rabbi Eliezer says, it says Pesach Mitzrayim and it says Pesach Doros. Just like Pesach Mitzrayim was brought min Chulin, because there was nothing else, so too Pesach Doros brought from Chulin. Rabbi Akiva says, I don't like that drasha. Why? Because that's done in Efshar, Mishalo Efshar. Pesach Mitzrayim, there was no choice. There was no choice. You can't learn out Pesach Doros where there is a choice, which the says fine. There's another drasha. Ve'avarata es ha'avoda hazos b'chodesh hazeh. You shall go ahead and do this avoda in this month, which tells me what Rabbi is saying, that every single time you do the avoda of Pesach, it should be like this avoda of Pesach Mitzrayim. In other words, Rabbi say that Pesach Mitzrayim sets the paradigm for all future Pesach observances. Shukol avodo shachodesh hazeh kazeh. For Rabbi Akiva will say, I don't understand how this drasha, Rabbi say, is any better than the first. Because at the end of the day, we're still going to run into the same problem, which is what? Rabbi Akiva, isavar la de'in done in efshar mishi efshar. So we'll say, if at the end of the day, Rabbi Akiva holds that ein done in efshar mishi efshar, that you can't learn out something that is possible from something that is impossible, which I will say in our context means you can't learn out that Pesach Doros has to come from Chulin, from Pesach Mitzrayim. Why not? Because by Pesach Doros, it is possible to bring from something sacrificial, something consecrated. At Pesach Mitzrayim, it was impossible. If that's the case, Leiku Bimil say. Ultimately, again, let's establish him with his original reasoning. And if Rabbi Akiva retracted and doesn't hold this way, then what? Rashi says, Leiku Bimil say, Bahai dissavarle de'in danin efshar mishiefshar va'amai chazer v'danu din acher. How does this second drasha help Rabbi Akiva at all? The Gemara says, Ihadr bey, right? And if ultimately again he retracted from this statement, Vahai delo gamer pesach mitzrayim mishum hay pircha. So the Gemara says, Ha pesach midbar yochiach. And I will say, if Rabbi Akiva went ahead and retracted, and he holds done in efshar mishai efshar, but ultimately again he doesn't like the drasha because of the pircha that we asked on it. There's another proof. Rabbi say, what's the other proof? Pesach Mitzrayim. Rabbi say, to tell you a very interesting historical fact. Right? So Rabbi say the pircha on the drasha is as follows. The pircha is that if you're going to learn out Pesach Mitzrayim and Pesach Doros, we run into a problem, which is Pesach Mitzrayim will say, there was no blood application and there was no burning of sacrificial parts. By Pesach Doros will say, the halacha is there is a blood application and there is a burning of sacrificial parts. So the limud of Pesach Doros and Pesach Mitzrayim comes up short. We'll say, by the way, there's a host of other issues. What else is the issue with learning out Pesach Doros and Pesach Mitzrayim? What's the other issues? We'll say Pesach Doros has its own unique peculiar aspects. For example, Mikol Be'asar, you go ahead and you purchase the lamb on the 10th. There is no obligation for that by Pesach Doros. Putting the blood on the mashkov, there is blood on the lintel. There is no din like that ultimately again by Pesach Doros. So we'll say, so the Gemara is just pointing out, even if you hold done in efshar mishai efshar, even if you hold that you can learn out the possible from the impossible, that I can learn out Pesach Doros and Pesach Mitzrayim, even though Pesach Mitzrayim you can't bring a sacrificial animal because there is no sacrificial animal to bring Karban Pesach from. There's a pircha. The pircha is the observances or the halachos of the two Pesach Pesach Doros, Pesach Mitzrayim are dramatically different. But I will say there's another possibility. The other possibility is learn it out from Pesach Midbar. We'll say, what's Pesach Midbar? Look at Rashi just a moment. In the Kisvei Rashi, the bottom Rashi, Pesach Midbar, Sha'asu b'nei Yisrael sapesach b'mo'ado, kivar haya lahem mizbeach, Rosh Chodesh Nisan hukam hamishkan, v'tal matan daman ve'imur lemizbeach, v'lo ba'ela min achulin, da'dayin lo haya le'mais. So now listen to this. So the Jews did Karban Pesach one time in the desert. It's actually very interesting. There was only one Pesach observance once during the 40-year sojourn in the desert for a variety of different reasons. So we'll say they brought Karban Pesach in the first year. Now, when they brought it in the first year in the Midbar, there was already a Beis Hamikdash. There was already there was already a Mishkan. Thank you. And therefore, again, when they brought the Korban Pesach, there was a blood application and there was a burning of Eimurim. So we'll say in the Midbar, the Korban Pesach only came from Chulin animals. Now, granted, in the Midbar, as Rashi points out, there was not yet the concept of what? Of Meiser Sheni. So we'll say, so if Rabbi Akiva doesn't like learning out Pesach Doros from Pesach Mitzrayim because of the Pirchas, because of the dissimilarities, then ultimately what? Learn out Pesach Doros from Pesach Midbar and say just like Pesach Midbar only came from Chulin, so too Pesach Doros only comes from Chulin. Now, both saying, now of course, the ability to learn that is predicated on what? Done in Efshar, Mishi'i Efshar. Right? You still would have to subscribe to the concept that you could learn the possible from the impossible. To which the Gemara says, L'dvarav Rabbi Eliezer Kamar. So we'll say, Rabbi Kiva, in fact, is stating his shita, but he is replying ultimately again to the position of Rabbi Eliezer. How so? Rabbi Kiva says as follows: L'didi, ein done in Efshar, Mishi'i Efshar. Rabbi Kiva says, me, I hold that you can't learn out the possible from the impossible. In other words, I hold you cannot learn out the halacha that Korban Pesach has to come from Chulin, from either Pesach Mitzrayim or Pesach Midbar, because we'll say both of those are cases of what? Of efshar. It would have been impossible to bring from a consecrated animal. However, l'didach da'amar danin efshar mishi efshar, but according to you, Rabbi Eliezer, who holds that you are done in efshar mishi efshar, that you hold that you can learn out Pesach Doros from either Pesach Mitzrayim, bless you, or Pesach Midbar, I would say the following: Ma Pesach Mitzrayim shekein ein ton matan damin ve'imor legab mizbeach. You Rabbi Eliezer have a problem. Why? Because Pesach Mitzrayim is so dramatically different than Pesach Doros. How so? Because in Pesach Mitzrayim, there was no blood application, obviously because there's no Mizbeach, Veimur, and there's no burning of sacrificial parts. Tomar, the Pesach Doros, Sheton Matan Damin, Veimur Legabi Mizbeach. Ultimately, again, that would be different because Pesach Doros does require this blood application. So we'll say, Rabbi Akiva is saying, for me, the conversation is a non-starter. Why? Why? Because I hold Ein Done in Efshar, Mishi Efshar. But according to you, who holds done in Efshar, Mishi'i Efshar, therefore technically you should be able to learn out Pesach Doros from Pesach Mitzrayim, you still have a problem. What's your problem? Your problem is that Halacha L'Maisa, Pesach Mitzrayim is so sacrificially dramatically different than Pesach Doros. Pesach Mitzrayim has no blood application. Pesach Mitzrayim has no burning of limbs and fats on the Mizbeach, whereas Pesach Doros does. How can you learn that one from the other? Va'amar Rabbi Eliezer will respond back to Rabbi Akiva, va'avarata. So Rabbi Eliezer will say, Rabbi Akiva, you're right. But there's another drasha. What's the other drasha? Va'avarata es ha'avoda hazos b'chodesh hazeh. You shall do this avoda during this month. What's that drasha, Rabbi Eliezer, that teaches me that the avoda of this month looks the same for all eternity, in certain respects. And therefore, again, the same way that the original avoda, the animal was from Chulin, so too, in future generations, Korban Pesach also has to come from Chulin. But Rabbi Eliezer, Leima le Pesach midbar yochich. Why does Rabbi Eliezer bring that drasha? Why doesn't he bring a raya from Pesach midbar, from the only Pesach done during their sojourn in the desert? Again, that would be a good proof, because remember again, that carbon had what? That carbon had matan damim, had blood applications, had burning of a murin, sacrificial parts, yet had to come from Chulin, to which the Gemara says, I'll tell you why. L'dvarav Rabbi Akiva kamarle. Because Rabbi Eliezer is responding to Rabbi Akiva. And what is he saying? Lididi done in Efshar, Mishi Efshar. We'll say this is great. Rabbi Eliezer says, Rabbi Akiva, listen, I hold done in Efshar, Mishi Efshar. I hold. And therefore for me, I have absolutely no problem learning out the halachos of Pesach Doros from Pesach Mitzrayim. From Pesach Mitzrayim. Umishum hai pircha Pesach midbar yochiach. Okay, but I accept the fact that there's a pircha on Pesach Mitzrayim. What's the pircha, Rabbi? Say, what's the pircha? Blood applications and burning of a morning pedarim. And therefore, again, what I will tell you, Rabbi Akiva, is midbar yochiach. I can still prove my point from Pesach Midbar. Because Pesach Midbar will say it would be a case of where ultimately there were blood applications, burning of the imurin on the mizbeach, and yet what the halacha was still minachulin. Therefore, again, that was but ledidach, but Rabbi Akiva. According to you, the amrit ain't done in efshar mishi efshar. But according to Rabbi Akiva, who holds you don't subscribe to this idea of done mishi efshar. So supposed to listen to this. Now remember, if according to Rabbi Akiva, this is very exciting. If according to Rabbi Akiva, you reject done in efshar mishi efshar. Supposed to say in Rabbi Akiva's world, you can't learn out Pesach Doros from where? From where? I can't learn it out from Pesach Mitzrayim, but I also can't learn out from where? Pesach Midbar. Why not? Why not? Because at Pesach Midbar, there was no Meiser Sheni yet. In other words, I will say, it's true that Pesach Midbar ultimately, again, has blood application and has burning of the limbs. But I will say, by Pesach Sheni, there was still no ability to go ahead and bring the Korban Pesach from something consecrated. Because I will say, the paradigmatic example of bringing Korban Pesach from a previously consecrated animal, the example of that, the real paradigm is what? Is Meiser Sheni. Because Meiser Sheni is perfect. Because Meiser Sheni is mine, yet it's Kodesh. So I will say, Meiser Sheni did not yet exist. That concept did not yet exist during the Midbar. That was a concept that began when we entered into Eretz Yisrael. So therefore, again, Rabbi Eliezer will say, at least Rabbi Akiva, at least again va'avarata, right? Efshar va'avarata. So I'll say you should still Rabbi Akiva. Therefore, again, Rabbi Akiva, you can't learn out Pesach Doros from ultimately again Pesach Mitzrayim, nor can you learn it out ultimately from where? From Pesach Midbar. But you should at least accept the drasha of va'avarata. Right? V'avarata means v'avarata es hachodesh, es avoda hachodesh has, es v'avarata es havoda, v'avarata es ha'avoda hazos b'chodesh hazeh. Rabbi Akiva, you should at least accept that drasha. V'hashtanami lifroch. So I will say, why can't we bring up Pirach Chamis also? So I will say, why can't we bring up Pirach Chamis? Omer Rav Sheish says, zos omeres ein meshivin ala hekesh. So we'll say you can still make a drasha, right? I'm sorry, you can still ask a kasha. The kasha could still be what? The kasha could still be ain't done in efshar mishi efshar. So we'll say to which you see what? You don't ask kashas on a hekish. We'll say a hekish is a strong exegetical limud, and therefore apparently you can't ask a kasha on the hekish. Okay, ubitar bitza. Amar Abbas is actually very interesting. In the Tarbitza, and I'm saying, what's Tarbitza? Rashi says in the bottom Rashi, Tarbitza Amar the base medrash, Mosi tiyufta masnisin, the Gomer shar kavanus chovim pesach dora. So we'll say apparently Tarbitza is another name for a base medrash. We'll discuss why. Ubi Tarbitza Amar in the base medrash they said as follows. They brought another kasha. V'chidamar halamed behekish chozru umalamed behekish. Rabbi say, can something which itself ultimately again is learned from a hekish, right? Go ahead and teach something else with a hekish. Rabbi say, now the question over here is as follows: Pesach Doros ultimately again is learned out from a hekish with Pesach Mitzrayim. How could that serve then as a proof for ongoing halachas? To which the Gemara says, Bichlala itmar. Ultimately again it was taught in generalities. Pesach kule chada milsehi. So we'll say, we look at Pesach as one general subject. Therefore, again, we don't look at Pesach over here as something that's learned out from a hekish, then teaching something else from a hekish. Rather, we look at Pesach as one cohesive entity. But Rabbi Akiva, Pesach din oba min achulin min oleh. So we'll say, we're left with a problem. Rabbi Akiva, you are our problem. We love you, but you're a problem. What's the problem? Because as according to Rabbi Eliezer and everyone else, there's no shortage of sources, ultimately, again, to learn out the halacha, that Pesach could only come from Chulin. Rabbi say, so there's no shortage of sources as long as you subscribe to which concept? Done in Efshar, Mishi'i Efshar. As long as you learn, as long as you subscribe to the concept that you can learn the possible from the impossible, you're good to go, right? But according to Rabbi Akiva, who holds ain't done in Efshar, Mishi'i Efshar, so again, he can't learn it out from Pesach Mitzrayim, he can't learn it out from Pesach Midbar. So Rabbi Akiva, we know you subscribe to the concept that Pesach can only come from Chulin, because that's the Mishnah, and the Mishnah is a low plug, everyone agrees. So where to learn out from? We'll say one more line and we'll stop for today. So the Gemara says, Nafkalei mehadam Shmuel Silber Eliezer. Zos haTorah the ola ulamincha lechatos leashal aminuim ulezevach hashlamim. So we'll say, as we're going to see ultimately again, Rabbi Akiva learns out from this pasuk. This pasuk ultimately again, which groups together all of the karbanos ola mincha chatas asham shlamim for zevach hashlamim. We'll say we'll stop over here. We'll see the unfolding of Rabbi Akiva's dramatic drasha V'shatov u'mitzlachas tomorrow. Shkoyach.